GameStop actually came through with orders for this guy pretty early. Check them out at the link in the description.
Dragon Ball, horror, kaiju, and more. Steven's Toy Reviews.
Hey there, Collector Steven here, and welcome back to another Marvel Legends review. At the time of recording, actually, the Captain America ToyBiz tribute video just decided to pop off. So what better time to get that Hulk ToyBiz tribute figure review up? Yes, so the 20th anniversary of the ToyBiz wave. We're continuing on, and like I promised, here's going to be the runner-up for number one of the ones released so far, Hulk. His first classic appearance? I mean, who cares? It's going to be Hulk. Everybody loves Hulk. And interestingly enough, for a standard sort of vanilla Hulk, to my understanding, because I think I pretty much have all of the new modern Marvel Legends Hulk figures, this is going to be pretty much the only standalone Hulk release for your average green Hulk. Very interesting, but the price point is going to be about $44 or so. Yeah, so there's a lot to talk about here, so let's go ahead and cut the chit-chat and take a look to see whether or not this big green meanie is going to be worth adding to your collection, and that is one spicy soda. So the head sculpts were a bit of contention among the collectors and the different groups. A lot of folks didn't really like the default head sculpt or the alternate head sculpt we will see in the accessories section, but nevertheless, you can't say that the rest of the figure doesn't look good. By default, this Hulk sculpt has been used 80th, compound, red, several times so far, so you pretty much know what the sculpt is going to look like here. So we can kind of skim over the details. Lots of veins. He's got the 27 million pack abs, ripped up pants, but what is this new one going to be offering here? It's not a new sculpt, but this new figure, the paint application, because the gradient of the lights and the dark greens is really fantastic here, and compared to the 80th anniversary 2-pack with the Hulk and Wolverine set, which we will have a side-by-side comparison, the paint application here looks nice, and the pants, we do have some white in some key areas to, signify the ripping and the tearing until it is done. It's not a Doom review, Steven. Knock it off. Anyway, for the actual paint application on the face, let's just talk about that a bit more in detail here. In case you didn't know, Hasbro has been experimenting with dot matrix or face printing technology, and they have been using it here for these collective 20th anniversary figures, and Hulk actually does look very good. I think the teeth could use a little bit more work. Dental work is always good, but I think the eyes came out really, really nice. And also there was some dry brushing in the hair to enhance some of the details with a little bit of green paint. Overall, I think Hulk really does look rock solid, and if you're a fan of the character, yes, the sculpt for the two heads, take it or leave it. Some love it, some hate it, but that aside, this figure looks rock solid. I really like him. So we have the 80th anniversary red Hulk, compound, Maestro, the gray Hulk. Then we have the carded green one that came out, I think, before the 80th anniversary. Now this body has been reused a lot. So general Marvel Legends audience, you pretty much know what you're getting here. Honestly, I can say it's the same and move on. But I would do a disservice for those who are looking to get this for the first time. They've never had this one. And my particular audience, this is the first time I'm covering this body style. So I have to cover it for sure. Don't worry. We'll get to the majority of those soon. So what do we have? Well, head is actually going to have an alternate part in this release. So as you can see, it's a barbell style joint or double axis ball joint, whatever you would prefer to call it. So Hulk's going to be able to spin his head around. No issues. Can he look up? Kind of, sort of, not really. Can he look down? A little bit. He can rock his head side to side just a little bit, but obviously he's going to want to spin his head around. Shoulders. They plug in on swivels so they can spin around, and they do have hinges. They move up about that far, so he can kind of sort of T-pose, but if you're looking for something a bit more expressive, what you can do, one trick of photography, is you can spin his arm back on the swivel there. You can do that with the hinge and use the bicep swivel to make it look like he's getting ready to punch. He does come with alternate fists, which we'll see in the accessory section. So yes, he does have bicep swivels, so this way you can spin the arm around. He does have single hinge elbows. That is going to be the extent of the range of movement there. There's another joint we'll get to in the shoulders in just 1 second, but let's just talk about this right now. All right, so single hinge elbows, as you can see there, and they do actually have swivels as well. Cool. For the wrists, For all the sets of hands, they move in and out on a hinge, and they do swivel around. The hinges only move in and out, no up and down. On the back, as we kind of saw in the Sculpt and Paint section, we do have butterfly hinges, but they only move backwards. And once you do that, you see that there is no sculpt on the inside where they would move into the chest cavity, and that's as far back as they go. It's fine enough just for some poses, but that does leave a little bit to be desired for the sculpt. We do have a ball joint for the ab crunch. We can get him to tilt inward kind of like that, but if you do want him to sort of be at an angle, that's where the waist swivel is going to be, but that does look a little bit awkward and leave a little bit of a gap. So, take it or leave it, but yes, on the waist swivel, we can spin all the way around. But for the ab crunch, as you can see, we can get him to rock and move around in all sorts of different ways there. For the hips, you can do the splits just fine. They are going to be on ball joints, kicking forward and back. He kind of kicks out at an angle, so something to keep in mind there. We do get dedicated thigh swivels, which initially mine were stuck. They were a little tight, but once I was able to move them, they were just fine. Double hinge knees. Take a little bit of effort, but that's the extent of the range of movement. Ankles, hinge forward and back, no issues, and ankle rockers. So Hulk, big, mean, and green. He's kind of heavy, so he can basically stand oh, there we go. With relative ease, but since he is so large, his center of gravity can be a little funky, and if he is not securely posed, he may just tip over. So something to keep in mind, maybe a support stand in the back or on the feet would be helpful. And that's a good segue into the accessories. But just to finish up for the articulation, I think it's pretty good, but maybe could use some improvements. Accessories. My favorite. All right, so what do we get here with this big green lug? So we do get an alternate head sculpt, which I already talked about a little bit. We do get an alternate set of hands. So aside from the splayed hands, we do get fists. We get a damaged Mandroid head. We get an FX display base. And then we get a cardboard backdrop. We're going to go ahead and talk about something else. So let's go ahead and take a look at those fun accessories, right? So rather short, sweet, and to the point. First, let's go ahead and take a look at that Mandroid helmet. Damaged, cool. What can you use this with? Got a little socket for a ball joint. It wasn't able to fit it on Hulk, so have fun. Yeah. Now, we do get a nice little impact crater that has a nice little green explosion to it. And interestingly enough, there are a couple of pegs on there, so this way you can put Hulk there and he can stand on it, which we're going to get a nice shot of that in just a little bit. I think the paint here is rather fine. The green explosion there looks rather fine. Maybe could be integrated a little bit better because it is a softer plastic, so you can kind of see what they have going on under the hood here in order to achieve this effect. Now for the alternate head sculpt here, it is a bit more of a calm head sculpt. He's kind of just, showing his bottom teeth. He looks a bit like a bulldog, but it is going to be what it's going to be. It's nice to have different options for your Hulk on display. Now, let's go ahead and tell you a little bit of a story here. So for the alternate hand parts, like I did make mention, we do have those splayed hands and the fists, along with that little rock effect part. So here you go. Here's how you use all those accessories together, and doesn't that look swell? Now, there's going to be one other thing that I did want to talk about, and that is going to be the little black display base that all of the 20th anniversary ToyBiz figures come with alongside a cardboard backing. So the cardboard backing is going to slide into that black display base, or you can just pop it in, whatever you prefer to do. Now, for Hulk's here, he does actually have a rather interesting setup, which is rather cool. So for Hulk's background, he is going to have a little, I guess you might say, wall burst. It's got a big hole in the wall. A little destroyed fire hydrant, water splurting out of it. Looks very, very nice. Now, on the alternate side of that, it is going to be a comic cover, it looks like. And it's going to have Hulk, Abomination. Ooh, lots of fun characters there. And it doesn't quite look like the Hulk that we have here, but it is what it is. So if you're interested in actually getting 600 DPI scans of this and something else that I'm going to talk about, I do have those up on my Patreon. But of course, they're here in the video, so this way you can at least see what those look like at minimum. So with that being said, that's pretty much it for the accessories. Now, is this going to be worth it? Overall, I think this is a fantastic package for the accessories. The only other thing that I would maybe think so including here is just a flat other head sculpt for Hulk. Not this design with the long hair, maybe another entirely. But other than that, I can't really think of what else to add in here. So if you're thinking of maybe another impact effect or maybe a support stand, you do know that I have videos to help you out. So definitely go check those out. One other thing, this is a single carded release, right? And with that single carded release, we actually have a really cool back of the card and front of the card. So just to help preserve that, here's going to be a 600 DPI scan of those as well. Likewise, for the different 20th anniversary figures, we get this nice little emblem that has Marvel Legends, Hulk, 20 years. So I'm going to go ahead and include that as well. Of course, if you do want the raw scans of those, again, they're going to be up on my Patreon. And to round things out for the review, here's going to be a size comparison with some other rather popular Marvel Legends figures that were just recently released, not only just because I think they go well together, but to save me time on some reviews. Of course, we do have the ToyBiz tribute figures here, along with a newly released Doctor Strange that kind of blends in well with them. So I think a lot of collectors are going to want to see these together in a group. So yeah, for a size comparison, I think this is rather rock solid, and I think that they all blend in rather well. And now that we have the size comparison out of the way, the moment you've been waiting for, a side-by-side comparison with the 80th anniversary Hulk that came with the Wolverine in that 2-pack. So as you can definitely see, there is going to be a jump in the technology that they used here to get the paint application applied for the different face paints and the colors between the two. A lot of folks were hoping to interchange the different parts, specifically the head sculpts, and unfortunately it's not really going to look natural between the two, but we can definitely see where the paint did change up how we perceive the sculpt, at least between these two releases. Which one looks better? Personally, I do like the sort of darker colors for the 20th anniversary release, but I do love, despite the fact that the actual quality of the applications may be a little bit worse, I love the actual head sculpt of the 80th anniversary release myself more. So which one's better? I'm going to leave it for you to decide. I think they both have their pros and cons, and honestly, I think they're both worth having in your collection, which is going to go ahead and round out this review. Buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Look, Hulk is definitely overpriced, let's go ahead and say. The sculpt and paint, yes, it's good, but it's unfortunately a reused body, which means that I personally think anyway, the price should be coming down a little bit, especially because we had a few of these body releases that were about the $30 price tag not that long ago. Yes, this Hulk does come with some other accessories, but is it really going to be enough to push it up nearly $15 more? I'm going to leave that for you to decide. The articulation is a little bit dated at this point. I do think that they maybe could have gone back and reintroduced another Hulk body style, so this way they could get even more repaints out on the market and introduce some new characters. But with that being said, what package we get here, especially accounting for inflation and overall increase to the Marvel Legends line moving forward, it's not a bad purchase. This is going to be the opportunity for a single carded Hulk release, which a lot of folks were clamoring for, and the only real downside, aside from maybe the price, is going to be the head sculpts that not everybody wanted. That being said, there's no real reason to not pick this up if you are a fan of the Hulk. All right, his review's done. Time for Iron Man, which is not going to necessarily be a bad review, but it's not going to be the review that I wanted to give. But of course, that's that one. Here, Hulk's pretty good.
Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now, you've heard a lot from me. I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand selected for you, so if you want to watch another STR video, I hand selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.